What I want to say to you in this talk is something I've never heard proposed before in my 10 years of working in sustainability. I believe that in terms of tackling climate change, most of us are playing the wrong game. So I want to explain why and give you some ideas on how to play a more effective game. But more than that, I believe we're on the cusp of a new way of being in this world, and climate change is going to help us get there. We need to change the game, but the game we change it to will be the best game you have ever played. So I want to begin with a simple scenario. Dennis is a fisherman in a village on a small landlocked sea. The more fish he catches, the better off he is. That's the game he plays. So he buys a second boat, and it all goes well. His yield immediately doubles, but in 2 years, his yield drops to that of the original single boat, and it keeps on falling. It turns out that all 10 villages nearby had also doubled their boats, and the sea was running out of fish. This scenario, very common scenario, is called the tragedy of the commons. And what it means is that Dennis and his peers were playing a rational game, looking after their own best interests, but in doing so, they ultimately depleted the shared resource, which wasn't in anyone's interest. But this scenario also has a very disturbing quality, one that's crucial to understand for climate change. The game player does not realise that it's not sustainable until it is too late. Dennis had to give up fishing altogether. So how do we stop this scenario from unfolding? Well, let's go back 2 years. Dennis is fishing with 2 boats and he's very happy. But now he has sight of the fish stock levels in the sea, and he can see that disaster is imminent. But it's not too late. All he needs to do is halve the number of boats and that will work. So what would you do in Dennis's position? I've come up with 3 rules that Dennis has to follow. You have to get everyone on board to play the game, otherwise it won't work. The new game must be fair for all, and, most importantly, it must achieve what is needed, not what is convenient for the players. So you have to do what is needed. You can't go and ask, how many fish are you willing to stop fishing? You've got to do what's needed. So I'm calling the point at which you sign up for these 3 rules the big switch. So we have our tragedy, we have our 3 rules, we have the big switch into playing the new game. So in the case of the fish, this is the tragedy. We have to get all 10 villages enrolled, or else it won't work. It's fair because everyone has to halve their boats. I don't mean down the middle. And it does what is needed because there's a cap on the number of fishing. The fishing is capped. At that point, you can do the big switch into playing the new game. The new game is to survive on less fish. They've got to do that. They've got to learn how to do that. But that's not too bad if it's only 10 villages. What happens if it was 100 or 1,000 villages? Would our approach change? Well, it shouldn't, because the principles stay the same. You have to get everyone on board. Let's move to climate change. Climate change is the biggest game humanity has ever faced. It's the first game that is a universal showstopper and requires immediate action. It really helps me to get some understanding of the numbers and what's actually happening in the atmosphere. So you all know that the atmosphere acts like a blanket around the Earth to stop us from freezing, right? And just like a blanket has a TOG rating, so does the atmosphere. And the concentration of carbon affects that TOG rating. And that TOG rating is measured in parts per million. What does that look like? Well, imagine a metre-wide glass cube. I can fit 1 million of these little centimetre cubes in it. So this is 1 part per million. This chart shows the number of parts per million of concentration of carbon in the atmosphere over the past 400,000 years. In all that time, it's never gone above 300 parts per million. It's now at 394. The best scientific institutions on the planet agree that it needs to be kept below 350 to keep a sustainable, stable climate. That is why we're already seeing extreme weather. And not only that, this figure's going up, but it's increasing at an increasing rate. In the 60s, less than 1 of these was added per year. Now it is 2 per year. So if it carry on like this, what's going to happen? Well, if you live in Iceland, where it's quite cold, then you might get a little bit warmer, it might be more pleasant, just in the weather terms. But if you live in the middle of Europe or America, Asia or Africa, things are going to get very bad indeed. It's going to get so hot in the summer that crops won't grow. And you won't be able to get them from anywhere else in the world because they'll be in the same conditions. So if you're living in one of those places, you'll do the only thing you can do and move. But there won't be anywhere else to go. This will cause mass migration and a gradual squeezing of resources. We're already seeing this with increased food prices. And it's all happening now. Floods all over the world, storms, fires, melting ice caps. It's happening, and it's happening faster than predicted, and it's getting faster. But not only that, even if humans survive, even if some humans survive, it's civilization that's in danger. It can so easily degenerate into a dark age with warring social states and every man for himself. Business as usual is taking us in this direction. So what do we do? Well, so this is our tragedy, runaway climate change. Who do we need to get enrolled? Everybody. That's all 7 billion of us. Without that, it won't work, just like the villages. It needs to be fair, so ultimately, an even share of carbon emissions, probably. And it needs to do what is needed, not what's convenient for people. So that's a global cap on carbon emissions. That's what we'll need to do if we want to make this work. Once we've got everybody on board, we can get the big switch. And then the game changes to one of living off less carbon. Now, this is the crux of my point. I believe that most of us, in terms of tackling sustainability and climate change, are playing that game already. I assert that's the wrong game right now. We need more people to prioritise and play game A. And game A is a game of enrolment. So it's a bit like high school and university. You've got to get through high school and pass that to be able to get to university. And you do it in that order. And studying the university syllabus at high school, well, you might be useful one day, but it's not the priority. It's not going to help you get there. So remember, game A is enrolling 7 billion people. Game B is living off less carbon. If you think we're winning game A, we're not. A third of the population of the world has never even heard of climate change. And in the US, the number of people who believe it's not man-made is growing. We need everybody's enthusiasm, skills and knowledge to play and win game A. We all need to play it, and we all need to win it. And the quicker we win it, the easier game B will be. The longer we wait, the harder it's going to get. And we risk hitting that climate change tipping point. So what do we do? Well, in terms of climate change, each of us is in one of three camps. Don't believe it's happening. Believe it's happening but are not acting. Believe it's happening and are doing something. The first group, we just need to enroll that it is. The second group are either overwhelmed, too big a challenge, think someone else will do it, too busy playing their current game, or are winning the current game, so I've got too much to lose, or at least that's what they think. So all of those people need to be enrolled that the new game is better than their current game. And the third group, well, they're either playing game A or game B. We need a bigger proportion of people who are playing the game to move to game A and enroll everybody else. That's what we need to do. So if you're interested in flexing your enrollment muscles, here are some ideas of things you can do. Stay informed and up to date in what's happening. I joined 350.org on Facebook, and they give me up to date good and bad news about what's happening in climate change. Spread the word. Communicate one conversation at a time. Learn leadership and public speaking. Ask how can you enroll people faster? Which people hold the greatest leverage and target them? Team up. Do it together. It may be more fun that way. And you may enroll those people who are stopped and want to help. I run lunchtime TEDtalks sessions at work. They're great fun and easy to put on. Or donating. The average UK family spends £800 a year ensuring future loss. When climate change hits, you won't be getting that money, or it won't be enough to help you. So if you're busy, donate. We can change the game. History is littered with amazing game changes. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And Gandhi inspired the entire Indian population to take up an action of non-violent resistance to secure India's independence. I'm sure you can think of many others who've done equally extraordinary things. So we have a choice: business as usual or changing the game. But maybe climate change does not need to be seen as a rearguard option. Maybe tackling doesn't need to be seen as that. Maybe it's an opportunity to get to the next level. We live on a beautiful planet, and humans have contributed so many beautiful and amazing things, but also such utter suffering. Maybe this is an opportunity to shift us away from that suffering. Maybe this is the challenge that we need. Maybe carbon is it. But maybe by meeting the carbon challenge, we learn more than that. Like how to live with each other. Like how to negotiate with our friends in other lands instead of going to war. Like how to live in harmony with the principles of the natural world that we can't change by changing the man-made systems that we can change. So focus on creating a better world with a carbon solution built right in. This is the first truly global humanitarian challenge, and so the perfect opportunity for a shift in consciousness. A game we can only win by collaborating. But isn't that a much better game? Who's going to do this? We are. It's up to us. In the recent US elections, climate change was mentioned in passing just once. Leadership will not lead if they don't think it's popular. The media moguls, oil magnates and world governments will not be leading this change. We will. The famous poem says, "You are a child of the universe. You have a right to be here. And you have a right to have a say in its future too." We have global social media to help us change the thinking of everyone. We've never had that before. Daunted? Well, don't be. Because you don't have to do this alone. Have a look around you. Have a look at your team. The world is full of amazing people, and you are one of them. Some people are making such staggering progress. We have the know-how, but we're not winning this game because we need to change the game. So finally, find a way to enjoy whatever it is that you do. If you do that, you'll become a master at it. We need masters. This is a game that can be rewarding from the very start because it can work. If we play it right, we can create a wonderful new world and leave a legacy for ourselves and our children that we can be truly proud of. I'm committed to changing the game. Please join me.